Testing. One, two, three. Testing. Testing. One, two. Great
It's
party.
gonna be a great party. It's gonna be a great party. Thank you. Thank you.
Make
Thank
sure I
you.
get a photo posted on our social media.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, Dan's got all that stuff. He's handled all that stuff, so we're all good with that. Yeah.
Speaking of which, here, I gotta get this photo right.
All right, sure. Sure.
Come on.
Ah, there we go. All right. All right. There we go. Okay, thanks, guys. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. Where's Heather? Waiting for Heather. Yeah, yeah. So Roger's not starting until you get here. So hey, Excelsior, how are you? Ah, so Kristen. Very much. Good evening. Welcome to the Celebrity Roast with Dr. Roger. You have the microphone now. I asked them. I'm up at Rogers and just day that 4 years ago on the day that we gathered to celebrate the release of Rogers 6. It was called Creating a Flash. I think some of you guys were there. See some familiar faces. I had the privilege of introducing Roger that evening, and tonight a very similar feelings to how that is. It's humbling that you guys would all be here to see me MC. I really do. The love and support of human beings. Yeah, so if you guys heard of ChatGPT, if you ask ChatGPT as one wow, on figures from creative problem solving, you will not find my name. However, you will see Roger's name among the 8 esteemed leaders listed. In addition to pointing out how handsome and fun Roger's friends are, it proudly declares, thank you, it proudly declares that Roger created the four-step model, which helps individuals and teams understand their problem solving process. Some of your things, you know, Roger did not create. So I would not worry just yet about AI enslaving humanity. I think we have a little ways to go. Roger has published now 7 books on the creative problem solving process. It's kind of and he's a doctor, not a real doctor of Dishman Hauser or like listener, you know, whichever might is. But Dr. Roger Firestream does work in miracles that transform people and institutions. His Clorox company, for them, they strategy changed the way their entire workforce looked at products. And they also call him the gold standard of creativity training, which must have been a long time ago because we have not been on gold standard for over 50 years. It's for real. It's for real. Well, it says here that he's a associate professor of degrees at the Center for Applied Imagination at Buffalo State University. He's president of Innovation Resources Inc., which stands for Incorporated. He's a Buffalo Society for Creativity and Medical Education. He guest lectures at the Jacobs School of Medicine and Biomedical Sciences at the University of Buffalo. It's a pretty legit list. He's expert in some creativity. Fast company, boards, investors, and business daily. Fact checkers? You've actually done all this stuff. Roger's, there's more. Roger's 9-part video series on innovation is on the Open Sesame e-learning platform. You're going to see one done tonight, I think, right? Open Sesame thought these were so well done that they actually asked him for more content, which is also pretty cool. And a little braggy. Because Roger is an unrelenting educator, He has most recently developed a certificate program. Maybe you've heard about this. A certificate program in applied creativity, as well as leading innovation teams. And yes, they also don't know what that means. But it says here that applied creativity is all about owning the ins and outs of the creative problem solving process so that you can create on demand in your personal and professional pursuits, which I think translated means it's like teaching you the process so that you can just use it whenever you want. Spiritual. Leading innovation teams equips you to guide teams to create breakthroughs where currently there are only stubborn obstacles, which I think is translated means you're like in charge of a group of people that have like important things to do and you're not always sure how to do that. So you come up with ideas that help you to do that. And it teaches you how to lead people in that way. Does that sound about right? Close enough. Look at that. Circle gets the square. If either of these programs sound like the next right step for you, you can inquire with the book table. Oh, Roger, you're trying to sell them to me introduction? Well, you wrote with them. Right. Well, looking at this group, it's probably going to work. So anyway, so while all these achievements and accolades are earned and deserved, here's what you really need to know about Roger. When I get a phone call from Roger, he usually opens with, Eric T. Eustace, the most feared gunslinger in Greeley, Colorado. Exactly like that. Or he begins chanting something you'd expect to hear sitting solemnly in a medieval cathedral. I can't even do it. Like I can't even do it justice. Do you ever remember the X-Files? The truth is out there. Roger Firestein is out there. All right. Out there, Roger, I believe, is the perfect place for you. Because it allows you to see things others can't, and because you're a generous soul, you've devoted your life to bringing the truth about creativity and problem solving back to us here on Earth. And so Roger knows what it's like to have problems that you aren't sure how to solve, and the kind of problems that touch you at your very center. Problems that aren't just problems, but forces that conspire to keep you from making the progress that you're here to make. And he knows that when you help someone solve what seems to be an insolvable problem, you are giving them perhaps the most important gift. And that's a renewed sense of possibility to pursue their purpose. And that's really important stuff. So he also knows, though, right, Roger, that in order to do this, you need to solve the real problem, right? Which we often do not. What we believe is the problem usually isn't, and we suffer for it. And this is why we need Roger's work. I've learned much from Roger, who, if you haven't figured it out yet, I secretly admire. I think the most important thing that you taught me is to never accept a problem as it presents itself. And I think like that one insight, honestly, has done more for me and like across all the walks of my life than anything else that I've learned from you and probably from a lot of other people. So thanks for that, anyway. So if you all don't mind, I would like to invite Roger to share a little bit about solving the real problem, which happens to be the title of his brand new book, which I've read. I think it's very important. I think you guys should all get your copy of it tonight, and maybe one for a friend and maybe for a stranger. So if you don't mind putting your hands together and joining me in welcoming my dear friend, a man of science, and the author of Solve the Real Problem, Dr. Roger Firestein.
My goodness, Eric. What an introduction. Thank you all so much for being here tonight. I really, really, really appreciate it. Tonight, we're going to talk about why we don't solve the real problem. And this is based on my book that we just released called Solve the Real Problem. Here's a quote you might want to consider. For every complex problem, there is an answer that's simple and clear and wrong. And based on about 45 years of experience working with thousands of people in hundreds of organizations, when it comes to solving problems that are ambiguous, that are complex, that are dangerous, that need creative ideas, 99% of the time of what you think is the problem is probably not the problem. You see, It's probably a symptom of the problem or what the boss thinks is the problem or a knee-jerk reaction to the problem or the first impression of what you think is the problem. So why are we so bad at this? Well, you see, we've been taught to find answers to problems, not to question the problem itself. Because in most of our formal education, problems have been presented to us. And it's my contention that we're still using the same strategies that we used in elementary school to solve complex, non-routine, difficult, and potentially dangerous problems. So let's test this, right? So as soon as you have the answer, I want you to shout it out, okay? Are you ready? Need to hear ready. Ready?
Yeah.
Okay, ready? Ready? Okay, here's the first question. What's 3 plus 3? Excellent. What's the capital of France? Oh, the next one's going to be a tough one. Okay, how about this one? What's the name of the third planet from the sun? Earth. You did that great. Excellent. Good job. Okay, all right. You see, we've been taught to find answers to problems, not to question the problem itself. This is a little story called Dancing with Coyotes. And a couple of years ago, my friends Larry and Dan live in this wonderful place called Placerville, California. Now, Placerville is a small mountain town. It's an old mining town that sits at the base of the Sierra Nevada mountains. It's a beautiful place to live, right? And Larry and Dan have two little dogs, Razy and Lodi, and they love to walk them on their land. Okay, but there was rumors in the area. Dan sighted a coyote in the area, and there was word in the neighborhood that the coyotes were coming and snatching up these little small dogs, never to be eaten again. So Larry and Dan didn't want Razy and Lodi to get eaten by a coyote. So what problem needs to be solved here? Turn to the person under your left. If you're on an end, make something up, figure out what problem needs to be solved here. Have a 30-second conversation. Go. What problem needs to be solved here? Okay, let's hear from you. So what problem needs to be solved? What do we need to solve? What's that? I need to hear from you. What problem? Okay, so how to kill the coyotes. Okay, good. Okay. What other problem might be solved? How to get bigger coyotes. Okay. So here's how Dan defined the problem. Dan defined the problem as how to get rid of coyotes. Okay. That's the way he saw it. Okay? Yeah. Now you see, it's legal to shoot coyotes in Placerville because they're considered a menace. But Dan is a very tired, very kind individual. He could never shoot an animal. Okay. So he said, I can't shoot a coyote. So Dan finds a wildlife rehabilitator. Okay? And this is wildlife rehabilitator Dave. Okay. So Dan says to Dave, he says, I want to get rid of these coyotes. What do you suggest? Wildlife rehabilitator Dave says, I suggest 2 super duper Acme coyote traps for a total of $300 each. And Dan goes, sign me up. I'm ready to go. Puts the traps up. He's a hero in the neighborhood. Dan's going to trap the coyotes. We're going to be safe. Well, unfortunately, the 2 traps didn't work. All I caught was a fox and a grumpy raccoon. All right. So Dan reasoned, he said, well, let's see. If 2 coyote traps don't work, maybe we need 2 more coyote traps, okay? So Dan goes out now and gets 4 2 more Acme coyote traps for now a total of $1,200 in the great coyote trapping adventure. Dan checks the traps for weeks. No coyotes trapped. But he still sees them, and the dogs are in danger of being eaten by a coyote. So how does this end? Well, coyotes are pack animals, okay? They're nomads. They follow the food. And if there's no food source, the coyotes will move on. So one way to look at the problem would be how to eliminate the coyotes, right? Now, another way to look at the problem might be how to keep our little dogs safe. Now, if you focus on the problem of how might we eliminate the coyotes, you get ideas like shooting coyotes or coyote traps. But what if you focus on the other problem? How might we keep our little dogs safe? Yeah, and then you come up with ideas like this. Put the doggies in a car, drive them a couple miles down the street, take them for a safe place to walk. Dan never trapped a coyote, no potential food source. The coyotes moved on. You see, Dan saw the problem is getting rid of the coyotes. And all of his energy was going to the coyote problem and not the real problem, which was how to keep the little dogs safe. Dan is a very, very talented and a very smart man. Now, if he can fall victim to solving the wrong problem, so can the rest of us. So here's one thing we can all do right now to improve our problem-solving abilities. Don't trust your first instinct. Don't trust your first instinct. Now, remember when you took those tests in school, okay? Those multiple choice tests, you're down to one or two questions. It's like, what is it? Is it A or C or C or B or A? You don't quite know. It could be this one, it could be this one. So, what was the advice people gave you? Turn to your neighbor again. What was the advice that people gave you when you weren't quite sure? Is it A or C or B or C? Talk to them. What was the advice? Okay, let me hear from you again. What was the advice? What was the advice?
Don't change your answer.
Don't change your answers. Oh, yeah. Okay. What else was your advice? Choose C or what else? First instinct. This is what I got. Go with your first impression. It's usually the right answer. Go with your gut. Okay. Yeah, that's what I got. And as a matter of fact, in the Barron's 2000 edition of How to Prepare for the Graduate School Exam, here's what they said. They said, exercise great caution if you decide to change an answer. Experience indicates that many students have changed to the wrong answers. Experience indicates that many students who change answers change to the wrong answers. Folks, that is bad advice, and it is absolutely not true. Right? Yeah, going what you think with your impression of what you think is correct is known as the first instinct fallacy. And it's based on the belief that you should avoid changing answers when you're taking tests. Your first instinct is best. But research has shown that test takers who change their answer most of the time change them from incorrect to correct. The bottom line is when you change your answers, you improve your score. And as a matter of fact, in 33 studies from 1928 to 1984, not one of those studies found that test takers were hurt by changing their answers. So why do we trust first instincts anyway? The answer is it feels better. It feels better. You see, it feels worse to change a correct answer to an incorrect answer because we remember changing the right answer to the wrong answer because it hurts us. And when you discover you've made that mistake, you start beating yourself up by saying, well, if only I had, if only I had, if only I had. This happens to me in the grocery store. You know the line of the grocery store? You know what's going on here, right? The line, it's like, okay, looking around. That line's moving pretty fast. That line's moving pretty fast. Go to that line. What happens? This line stalls, that one keeps going. You go, if only I had stayed in that line. All right. So a simple way to sum up the first instinct fallacy is what we first think is the answer is not the answer. What we first think is the answer is not the answer. Now, I'd like to introduce a new fallacy to you that we found when we were working on the book. And this fallacy is called the first problem fallacy. And a simple way to sum up the first problem fallacy is what we first see as the problem is not the problem. What we first see as the problem is not the problem. Now, you see, Dan defined the problem as how to get rid of the coyotes, when in fact the real problem was how to keep the little doggies safe. Right? So one thing I want you to get from today is what you first see as the problem is usually not the problem. Okay, time for a problem-solving activity. And Bobby, if you would please, all right. We're going to use the ropes on this. And so please don't fall victim to the first problem fallacy, okay? But here's some things. But Bobby, just a few bars. Once again, Bobby, would you just a couple of quick little bars on the banjo? Yeah, right. Okay, good. Okay. Very good. Bobby LaBelle, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. There's more to come. Thank you. Okay. So here's some advice to help you to solve this problem, okay? And I want you to repeat this after me. You're going to do very well to solve this problem if you challenge your assumptions, if you get an outside perspective, if you see the big picture, and if you look for all the details. So repeat after me. So what are you going to do to solve the problem? You're going to challenge my assumptions. What are you going to do? Very good. Get an outside perspective. What are you going to do? Well, see the big picture. Look for all the details. Boy, you guys are great. Okay, excellent. Okay. So we're going to have you partner up for this. And so can I get a volunteer to demonstrate this for me, please? Oh, yes, this enthusiastic gentleman here in the front row. Please step forward. Yes. And your name is, sir?
Joe Fox.
Joe Fox. And have we ever met before?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I work with you 3 times a week.
Yeah, this is my trainer, Joe Fox. Okay, so here's what we're going to need to do. I want you to stand up, all right? Take your ropes with you, all right? And this helps. And so spread out, okay? We have all these aisles to use here, and Bobby's going to give us a little music to partner up. So spread out, and it's often nice to spread out and meet some people you don't know. Okay, so get out in the aisles there. Yeah, get out there in the aisles. Okay, get out there. Does everybody have a rope? Anybody need a rope? Okay. So go ahead, partner up, Bobby. Play us a little music, and here we go. Partner up. Get yourself a partner. Okay, does everybody have a partner? Everybody have a partner? Who needs a partner? Who needs a partner? Anybody need a partner? Okay, partner over there. Okay, Kelly, we need a partner for that person right there. And there we go. Everybody's got a partner? Okay, fantastic. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. All right. So what's going to happen first? Joe, may I have your arm, please? Okay. Yes, your whole arm. Just there we go. Very thanks. Shaking hands. So what's going to happen is one of you is going to tie the rope around your partner's wrist, just like this. Now, here's the deal: you don't want to cut off the circulation. All right. So you want to leave room for a couple of fingers to get through there. So I'm going to tie that onto Joe's wrist, and Joe's going to tie the rope onto my wrist. Go ahead, would you now, please? Okay. So go ahead and get yourself tied up to your partner there. Well, once again, leave room for a couple of fingers to go through there, and make sure you have a partner. Okay. Anybody need a partner? Okay. You got a partner, right? Okay, great. Thank you, Joe. Just got it. Perfect. Now just leave that. Right, yeah. Okay. Just put that through there. Okay. Let's pull that through. There you go. Got it. Good. Okay, good. All right. Okay, so everybody got it. Okay, so all right, so here's what's going to happen next. We have Joe. We're going to take this rope and we're going to put it around his other hand just like this. Okay, so Joe, would you please just go ahead and give us a little Rocky demonstration? You know, Rocky, so a little Rocky do. There we go. Okay, so one of you is like Joe Fox there. One of you is just like me right here, just like that. How are we doing so far? Having fun? It gets better. Okay. All right. All set with that? Okay, so, oh, not yet, Bobby. All right, here's what's going to happen next. We're going to take my rope, we're going to drop it down there. And Joe, would you tie the rope to my wrist, to my other wrist? So now you and your partner are looped together. Good. Step through. Mm-hmm. And then pull it down. Got it. Got it. Almost. Perfect. Okay, great.
There we
Okay, so you're looped together like my friend Joe here. All right. Okay, like this. Like this. Untie. There you go. Okay. Everybody loop together?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is not the way you solve it, okay? So I'm going to just do this for demonstration purposes. So here's the deal. The name of this activity, all right, is called handcuffs, okay? The objective of this activity is to get yourself unhooked from your partner so when we go to the party, you can go to the bathroom by yourself, all right? The end result is your own ropes, or your own ropes, just like this, okay? You cannot cut, burn, untie, chew, wear down, slice, dice, or dynamite the ropes. You cannot take the ropes off of your wrist or your partner's wrist or anyone else's wrist, okay? Now, so you're going to end up like this. I did not solve the problem. Now, before we start, don't start yet, Melody. I got you. Okay, so don't start yet, okay? Before we start, what questions do you have? That's a good question. You'll figure it out. Okay. So now here's the deal. I'm going to stop you as we go through this from time to time to give you just a little bit more information. And so when Bobby stops, you stop. But Bobby's going to help us work on it right now. So Bobby, hit it. Here we go.
Okay. Yeah, all right. We're working on it.
Well, they know it.
This folks over here.
Okay, let's stop the action. Okay, so let's take a closer look. Some of you have got it. So if you've got it, you're going to be consultants, okay? And you're going to call on those people later. So it can be done, all right? So hold on to stop the action. So let's talk about this just a little bit. Let's just talk about this. So very good. Okay, you're going to be consultants, okay? Wait's on you. So let's talk about it. I know you're excited. Come on up. Okay, so what do we know about this situation? What do we know? You're tied together. Okay, so let's talk about the rope, okay? What are the properties of the rope? What do you know about the rope? It's flexible. Good. Okay, so now let's talk about this. How many loops do you have? So if this is a loop and Joe has a loop, how many loops do you have? Two, okay? So if you have two loops, where are you looking? If you have two loops, where are you looking? At the intersection of the two, right? Okay. So might there be more than two loops? Yeah. Okay, so where might those loops be? On your wrist. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Do you all see 6 loops? Have you got 6 loops? Do you see the 6 loops? Great. Go back to work. Hit it, Bobby.
Oh, good athleticism. Hey, Joe, I'm gonna go. There we go. I can tie that back on you if you'd like.
There, got it.
Okay.
I want to go around behind you. Just do like this. Okay, stop the action, okay? Stop it. Great. Okay. All right. Some of you have got it. And so what's going to happen this next time, if folks have not got it, ask for some help and they're going to come and help you. But let's take a look at the situation here. So let's take a look. So look at the rope here. Does everybody see my rope? Okay, don't work on it. I know you're excited. Okay. So where does the rope want to go? Through the arm. Yes. So one solution to the problem would be what? Cut his arm off, but then he'd have a bloody stump and a one-armed trainer, and we don't want that, okay? But specifically, what part of Joe's arm does it want to go, not want to go through? His forearm, okay, good. And so what do we have next? What's next? His wrist. And then what? Oh, whoa, wait a second here. Wrist, what's next? The rope, okay. Then what? Hand. Then what? Fingers. Then what? Fingertips. Nothing. Okay, so once more, where does the rope want to go? To the other side of his arm. Okay, so what's in the way? Arm, wrist, rope, hand, fingers, nothing. You see it? Go back to work. Hit it, Bobby. And if you need some help, get a consultant. Get somebody to help you. Get somebody to help you. Can you help with those folks over there? Get some help. Get some help. Get some help. Get some help. There you go. Get some help. All right. Help those folks out right there. Okay, one more time. Oops. Okay, stop the action, Bobby. All right. All right. Don't have to turn like this. Sure. Okay, folks, here we go. Last shot. If you haven't gotten it yet, here's the solution. And you got it. Everybody knows when you get it. It's like, whoa, I got it, I got it, I got it, I got it. Okay, so arm, rope, here we go. To get the rope to the other side of Joe's arm, we put the loop underneath. Joe puts his hand through it, and voila. Give yourself the hand. Well done. Bobby, would you play us out, please? Have a seat, everybody. Thank you. Thank you, Joe. All right, Bobby Bell, everybody. Thank you. There's going to be more Bobby LaBelle later. And just to let you know, they're still working on it. There's a committee over here, subcommittee. All right. Okay, you guys can sit. Oh, it's the book team. All right, of course. All right, so let's take a look at this. Thanks, you guys are good sports. All right. So let me get back into the position here. Let's take a look at how well you took your advice. All right. So, did you challenge your assumptions? Eventually, you did. Did you? But first, did you assume there was two interlocking circles? Yeah, because that's what you saw. Because that's how many circles you have to. Two. Okay. But to solve it, you had to challenge your assumptions. Okay. Did you get an outside perspective? Did you ask for help? Yes, you did, and that helped you to solve it. Okay. All right. One more little thing here. How about? All right. How about this? Did you see the big picture? Did you look beyond the two interlocking circles? Not right away, but eventually you did. Okay. And how about this? Did you look for all the details? Did you notice the loops on your wrist? See, it's my contention when you began this activity, you had no perception of the loops of your wrist at all. Well, and if you did, they had nothing to do with solving the problem. Well, as a matter of fact, they had everything to do with solving the problem. All right. You see, the real problem was not getting your body through the loops. The real problem was getting the rope through the loops. Okay, so the single focus of this book is to find the real problem in any situation you might encounter, personal or professional. And we're focusing on finding the real problem because it doesn't make any sense to generate ideas for solving the wrong problem. Not at all. Okay? You see, most of the time, what most people associate with creativity is ideas and coming up with lots and lots of ideas. But it's been my experience in the last 45 years in this business, when the area of the creative process where we clarify the problem is even more important than the creative stage of the process when we're generating ideas, because it doesn't make any sense to solve the wrong problem. Here's a wonderful quote from Stuart Firestein, No Relations book, Ignorance, How It Drives Science. You see, to clarify problems, we ask questions, but not just any kind of questions. We ask creative questions. Here's what Stuart said. I love this quote. He says, questions are more relevant than answers. Questions are bigger than answers. One good question can give rise to several layers of answers, can inspire decade-long searches for solutions, can generate whole new fields of inquiry, and can prompt changes in entrenched thinking. Answers, on the other hand, often end the process. Answers, on the other hand, often end the process. You see, we use creative questions to clarify problems because the language that we use to describe a problem is going to determine how we go about solving that problem. So creative questions begin with these phrases: how to, or how might, or in what ways might, or what might be all the. Now, I want you to notice the difference here. See, notice the difference between we don't have enough money or it's too expensive, as opposed to how to raise the money or how might we reduce the cost. Those first two statements, they block your thinking. They send a message to your brain that there aren't any ideas out there. So why bother even looking for those ideas? Those two questions open your mind to the possibility of solving the problem. They provoke you to think about ideas for solving the problem. So here's a little background on the book. I interviewed the following people from the book for this, from the following fields: from medicine and from aviation and engineering and business, government, military, education, transportation, negotiation, agriculture, advertising, everyday life, and manufacturing. And I asked them one question. And the question was, can you tell me a story from your life or your work where you discovered the problem that you were trying to solve was not the problem at all? And they were wonderful and so generous with their time. And when I interviewed their answers, I found that they settled into 4 mindsets. Now, a mindset is a particular way of thinking, and the 4 mindsets were the key to solving or finding the real problem. And here they are. You've seen them already. Challenge your assumptions, get an outside perspective, see the big picture, and look for all the details. So this is a story, I think, that hits on all 4 mindsets. So question is, how many of you have flown on an airplane? Raise your hand, please. Okay, very good. Okay, good. How many of you ever flown on a Boeing 747? That airplane with the big hump up there in the front? Yeah, pretty cool airplane. Okay, all right. So this is a story about how 2 pieces of scrap metal saved the airline industry billions of dollars, and kept billions of people safe. And in the late 1970s, a young engineer named Scott Kempshall was assigned to the cockpit design team of the Boeing 747. And as we talked about, the 747 is the airplane with a nice big hump up there in the front. Very cool looking airplane. Now, on his fourth day of work, this mechanism lands on Scott's desk. Kaboom. And this is the mechanism for the windshield wiper for the 747. It's got an arm sticking out here. There's a motor in it. There's a spring, all this stuff. Scott's job was to get this FAA certified, or his problem to solve was how to get this FAA certified. That's it. Just get it certified. Okay. So because of the hump on the airplane, when the plane would take off and land, the airflow would lift the wipers off of the windshield. And the pilot couldn't see the runway on takeoff and landing in rain and snow. Not a good thing if you're flying a 747 with 541 people on board. You want to see that runway on takeoff and landing. Now, what this device did was it calculated the airspeed, and then it used a motor to tighten a spring that would hold the wiper to the windshield. Okay. See, the mechanism was really complicated, and it had a lot of moving parts to it. It could easily break down. And to replace the mechanism, the 747 had to be taken out of service for 10 days. Mechanics had to take the whole front cowling off the airplane completely to get them to the mechanism. And to replace this mechanism one time was $100,000. A lot of money to replace a windshield wiper mechanism. So on Scott's fourth day of the tour, later on that day, he gets a tour of the airplane assembly building. And when I talked to Scott about this, he said, it was absolutely amazing. He said, I walked in and here are these 747s. This one was just about done. And then this one and this one, as far as I can see, these massive airplanes. He said the buildings were so big that clouds would form in the ceiling. So he's taking this tour and he comes across this bin of scrap metal. Okay. And Scott says they're about 6 inches long and they've got a curve to them. And so Scott asked his guide, he said, well, what are these? And his guide goes, well, we had a design for a railing that was a little too long, so we had to clip these pieces off. Scott goes, well, can I take a couple of them? He says, well, yeah, sure. They're just junk. They're just scrap. We're just going to scrap them. So here's Scott's words. They looked like little scoops to me. If I attached these curved pieces of metal onto the windshield wipers, the air would flow over them. And the curved shape would create a downward force like a sail on a boat, and the sail would push the windshield wiper down the windshield. Okay. As the airplane accelerated, the air pressure would increase and increase the pressure on the sails. Not a bad idea. He goes on. He said, I riveted a couple of these metal pieces on the windshield wipers. The first time it didn't work. The wipers would still come up as the airplane accelerated. But then I adjusted them a little bit and a little bit and a little bit and a little bit more, and they would not lift off the windshield no matter what we tried. We tried rain, we tried snow, we tried ice, and they would stay on the windshield the whole time. The name of Scott's invention, flow spoilers. And that was Scott Kempshall's first design award. And here they are, right there. Yeah. And they're there again. And they're on most aircraft now because they work so well. Okay. Scott's flow spoilers have protected the lives of 3.5 billion people who have flown on 747s. So let's look at the long-term results of Scott's invention. You see, each one of these mechanisms cost $10,000 each for a total of $20,000. That cost was immediately eliminated. Each one of these mechanisms weighed 20 pounds for a total of 40 pounds each for a total of 40 pounds. That weight was immediately eliminated. You don't want to add weight to an aircraft if you don't have to. Now, the lifespan of the 747 is about 30 years. Now, because this mechanism is complicated with lots of moving parts, it would need to be replaced about every 10 years. So let's figure this out. $100,000 times 3 equals $300,000 per airplane. Okay, Boeing delivered 1,567 747s at $300,000 times 1567. That comes up to be a total of $470,100,000 in 1980 dollars. In 2023 dollars, to replace that mechanism, it's $1,715,956,310.68. Okay. With Scott's invention, the aircraft doesn't have to be taken out of service. The blades can be changed right on the tarmac, costs about $2,000, takes about 2 hours. Amazing. Challenge your assumptions, get an outside perspective, see the big picture, look for all the details. So let's dig into this just a little bit deeper. Challenge your assumptions. Now, Boeing assumed the problem was a wiper mechanism. And Scott's job, his problem to solve was just get it FAA certified. That's all, kid, get it FAA certified. That's it. Okay. See, if Scott hadn't challenged the assumption that there might be another way to do that, he would have never even noticed those bins, those scrap metal in the bins. Get an outside perspective. This was Scott's fourth day on the job. He was a fresh pair of eyes. He saw the problem from an entirely different perspective. See the big picture. Scott looked beyond his immediate task of getting the wiper mechanism certified. You see, the real problem was keeping the wipers on the windshield. And look for all the details. Scott looked at all aspects of the problem. He saw the details in the scrap pieces as a way to solve the problem. And Scott Kempshall helped keep 3.5 billion people safe. And I'm proud to say that Scott Kempshall has been my friend since we're 14 years old. This is Scott. Yeah. Scott planned to be here tonight, but let's say he's very busy protecting our country right now. So, all right. So, to find the real problem, pause. Don't accept your first impression of the problem as the real problem. Ask creative questions, generally at least 10 of them. Okay. Choose the creative question that best defines your problem, and then, only then, generate ideas for solving it. Okay. Last thought. We started with coyotes. We're going to end with bees. See, Scott's flow spoilers cost Boeing almost nothing, but they saved the airline industry billions of dollars and kept 3.5 billion people safe. Scott asked a few creative questions, and he had the tenacity to try out his idea. See, the leadership in Scott's department created an environment where people were willing to contribute ideas, and they gave him time to work on that. And when Scott's flow spoilers didn't work the first time, his project wasn't shut down because it failed. You see, the fact is, if you're a leader in an organization, and most of you are leaders in your organization, you have absolutely no ability to help someone come up with creative ideas. You cannot make someone come up with creative ideas. You see, if you want bees to make honey, you can set up the bee box in the spring, which is the perfect time of the year. You can buy the best bee boxes available. You can raise a bee box in the most beautiful place in your property, and you can bring in a healthy queen. But you can't make the bees make honey. You see, reading a book on creativity or attending a creativity workshop or a speech like this doesn't guarantee that you're going to be more creative. And trying to impose creativity from an external organizational mandate on people has been one of the major reasons why creativity and innovation initiatives in organizations have failed. You see, you can't force innovation, but you can free it. See, Scott didn't submit his idea to a company-wide idea collection system. He didn't take weeks to ponder the idea. He didn't get his idea approved by the senior vice president of innovation or the chief innovation officer, and he didn't come up with this idea in the company's brand new innovation center. All Scott did was ask a couple of creative questions. But there was something else going on when Scott made his discovery. The air was right. The air was right. The biologist and author Lewis Thomas, who wrote the wonderful book, The Lives of the Cells, says this about discovery. Thomas says, discovery cannot be prearranged in any precise way. The minds cannot be lined up in tidy rows and given directions from printed sheets. You cannot get it done by instructing each mind to make this or that piece of information for central committees to fit with the pieces made by the other instructed minds. It does not work this way. What it needs is for the air to be right. You see, if you want a bee to make honey, you don't issue protocols on solar navigation or carbohydrate chemistry. You put them together with other bees and you do what you can to arrange the general environment around the hive. You see, if the air is right, the honey will come in its own season. And excuse me again, if the air is right, the science will come in its own season, just like pure honey. So, if you want your people that you lead to be creative, if you want your people to look for problems to solve, make the air right. Make the air right. And what's one thing that you can do to make the air right? Pause. Ask. Choose. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Thank, thank you. Oh, thank you. Okay, y'all get free drinks, okay? Thanks. There are some folks I want to thank for this. We have just a little bit more to do. I'd like to thank the beta readers. And the beta readers, the way we do a book is we write the book and we put it together the best way that we can, and we send it out to trusted people who can give us feedback on the book, and those are our beta readers. And these people are absolutely essential because they help to make the book so much better. So if you're a beta reader, please raise your hand. I see you. Robert Gatewood, you're a beta reader. Thank you. Thank you. Mary Beth Whiting, Doug Reed, Joe Fox was a beta reader. Thank you. Strawberry Olive, Lori Ames, Andrew Luzikas, Nathan Luzikas, Margaret Kaiser. Many of these folks are away. John Cobbers in Mexico. Jonathan Vierco. Eric Eustace was a beta reader. Thank you, Eric. Yeah. Laurie Kiley, Bobby LaBelle. Bobby's probably out working already. Caitlin Navala, Steve Luzikas, and my mom, Ruth Firestein. Yeah, Mom. Hi, Mom. By the way, we're live streaming this, so Mom's there. So we also had some other distinguished beta readers. We were very fortunate to get Mr. Kevin Bacon of Omaha, Nebraska. Please notice his spectacles. And this is what Mr. Bacon said. He said, being a small animal myself, I particularly enjoy the Dancing with Coyotes story. Wild guy. The folks that made this book work, I would like to thank them. I'd like to thank Laurie Kiley and Dan Crary. You've heard their story first. My dear friend, Dr. Scott Kempshaw, Dr. Michael Geraci Jr., Louise Nielsen, Robert Gatewood. Thank you, Robert, for your stories. Eric Eustace for your stories. Wade Troxel, Mike Whiting, Philip Kepler, your grandfather. Bonnie Craven, Ken Kamiga. Wave Ken, please. Ken Kamiga, thank you, Ken. All right. Priya Pinto and John Conrad. When you look at the book, you are going to see an absolutely beautiful book that we are so proud of. And a huge part of that was in the printing process. So I'd like to thank Chuck Parinelli. Chuck, would you just stand? That's Chuck Parinelli Printing, please. Thank you, Chuck. It's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. I'd like to thank my publicist, Lori Ames. Lori Ames goes for the big fish, all right? Lori is not here tonight, but her two team members are Christina Zacher and Jenna Malama. Would you just stand up, Christina and Jenna? They came down from New York for this today. Thank you guys so much. She sent that picture. You didn't know about it? I'd like to thank Sam and Sulaco from the Brew Room, and Shaylin Bruder and Kimberly Stacy. Sam has been the guiding force as we've moved forward. Yes, you have for a lot of time. As we've put the projects together, Kim and Sam and Shaylin did a wonderful job on our brand new website that came out this year in July. Thank you so much for this. Sam, thank you for your always being there, for making everything work and saying, no problem, I got that. So thank you, Sam. Thank you. And we have a little something for y'all. And we have something for Shaylin too. Yeah. Dan Richardson, our amazing director and videographer, and you saw him, but he's up working right now. Dan is an absolute brilliant genius in the work that he does. We are very fortunate, as Eric mentioned, that we're now on the Open Sesame e-learning platform. We've been moved up into the premium classification because the videos are so extremely good. And so if you just go to our website, just go to Open Sesame. There's 9 videos on there. They're being distributed all around the world. And we're so delighted with Dan's work. Dan, thank you so much. You are amazing. Dan, thank you. Yeah. Hello, Zekas and Cassandra. Would you come up, please? Oh. There we go. September 19th, 2019. Oh, you can sit down. I brought them there for you. No, I didn't really think we were going to use them, but that's okay. So we'll just talk a little bit longer, okay? So remember that time? September 9th, 2019, we launched Create in a Flash at the Science Museum, and many of you were there. And I thought at that time it was the best creative project that I've ever done because I got to work with Cassie and Heather on that. That was until we did this book, Solve the Real Problem. And I want to say to both of you, it is still the most amazing creative project we've ever done. This one is even more amazing. Thank you for all of your work, for your debate, for your detail, for your pushing back on me, and just for your brilliance. So, Cassie, this is for you. And Heather, this is for you. So thank you so much. So you can go, yeah, okay. You can go to
So much.
these guys are brilliant. 2 people that were very influential in the writing of the book are my friends Laurie Kiley and my good friend John Carver. John is, I think, is watching this from Mexico City right now. And I'd like to thank my mom, who is on the live stream. We're live streaming it. At 92, some of you have met Mom, okay? She is my model for a lifetime of creativity. She was a church organist for over 70 years. She was the first woman president of her church's leadership council, a choir director at 83, school photographer, calligrapher, a farmer's wife, and a sheep midwife, right? And her quilting body of work exceeds over 300 pieces. Amazing. So thank you, Mom. And I want to mention two new things that we're working on right now that Eric talked a little bit about. One's the Applied Creative Problem Solving course, and one is the Breakthrough Lab. And the Applied Creative Problem Solving course is a course where you need big ideas and you need them now. And it's for opportunities, big decisions, challenging goals or problems. And so what if the next time a big challenge came your way, you knew exactly how to solve it? And here's a short, and by the way, the folks have taught this, have had this course in the past, have created new businesses, have improved their existing businesses, have developed inspiring educational programs, invented new products or services, reduced manufacturing costs, began to improve quality in healthcare, solved community problems, improved personal relationships, and launched entirely new careers. And here's just a 2-minute video on what it's like to take the Applied Creative Problem Solving course.
What was it like to be a force without?
We started thinking about it's really opened up our minds. It's almost like there's a day you got sick and you said it's the easy. The was just some ideas that you threw out into the room.
How is it different as a result of taking it?
I'm definitely different to solve one. I used to come up with a few ideas and just kind of picking those, and I realized I need to be generating more ideas I can generate, more to be a team. The deeper we dig, the better the ideas.
I think probably number one success is what I was being agree that I got into the Asian life that I am. I would never be aware that this was something that I could look at and just so what I could go. And I felt that this was something that even young children should learn from very early age, and something that should kind of continue through adulthood, so that it can change everything around. One pattern was that we left continually say, what must we all say that constantly? I think it's kind of become a moment to now look at things in a much more expanded way. I think the pattern we're talking here.
There's no straightforward. It's something that's philosophy change. It is something that how you go about your daily task. When we stepped out of the classroom, we didn't stop there. We kept thinking about that when we got into our cars and we went to work the next day. And it's not something that stays in the classroom. It's something that I've tried to like every single day. It's really enriched now. It's enriched the way that we think about things.
Okay, so some of the folks are already registered for the course. Our friend Joe Fox, Mike Geraci, Dan Sheehan, who's with us, Robert Gatewood, Arshana Mishra, Pam Marshucci, Ken Snyder. So these folks will be taking the course. It's going to be coming up soon, Monday and Tuesday, Monday, October 2nd, all day, Tuesday, October 3rd, half day, Monday, November 6th, all day, Tuesday, November 7th, half day. There's going to be a flyer at the book signing table if you're interested in that. So very excited about that. And we're doing it on the Roycroft campus. Where else can you get more creative? Yeah. And now for something completely different. This is the Breakthrough Lab. And the Breakthrough Lab is when your company needs breakthrough ideas for solving a specific problem that's facing them. You need creative ideas, you need them fast. Right? And we use a worldwide network of creative catalysts to help you find the real problem and generate hundreds of ideas for solving it. And it's for creating new ideas for products or services or solving tough strategic business problems facing your company. And so we've worked with a number of clients. One of our clients is Hero, which is Hero Cosmetics Company. And if you have somebody in your life that's 15 or 16 years old and you mention Hero and you say the word Mighty Patch, they will go, whoa, okay? It's a marvelous invention that you use for if you have a pimple, you put it on the pimple on the patch, overnight, comes off, goop's gone, right? From Hero, they said, I searched forever for an innovation team that would help my team think outside the box and bring new product ideas to the table. I love how Roger's team helps you think for yourself, connects big issues to things that nature already has the answers for. He brings in creative catalysts, some of them in this room, to bring a fresh perspective to the bunch. One of the ideas from the Breakthrough Lab might take the R&D team 5.5 years to develop, but it would be groundbreaking for the brand. Love this company. And a local company here in Buffalo and New York, Priya Pinto's company, Allwell. We were stuck. We needed to unstick ourselves, but no one could do the unsticking but ourselves. And we were looking at things that are very concrete. Let's solve it the way we've always solved it. But that solution has never actually worked. Now we've learned a new way of looking at things, a new way of solving problems. We've also taken this process and used it in a couple of other scenarios, so the applications are endless. So the Applied Creative Problem Solving courses teaches the course applied personally. Breakthrough Lab is for the heavy duty stuff. One last piece of business. So if you want to register for the course and learn more about it, there's stuff on the table out there. Here's the last piece of business. This book is dedicated to my daughter, Maria Roll. And, and Maria became a doctor on April 30th, April 23rd this year, married Tim Roll on April 20th. They're on the live stream. I love you both so much, right? And they're not able to be here with us because Maria is doing her residency at the University of South Carolina Medical Center in Charleston, and Tim is a mechanical engineer with Bosch. Maria, I'm wearing your cufflinks, okay? All right. Yeah, Maria and Tim, thank you. Thanks, guys. Thank you. Thank you. And I'd also like to thank my dearest friend, Eric T. Eustace. And Eric T. Eustace, the most feared gunslinger in northern Colorado. That's the line, okay? Eric, thank you for the journey we've taken over the last 10 years or so, for your counsel, for your good counsel, for your friendship, for your great ideas, and for always being there to make me laugh. And I love you so much for that. Thank you, Eric. Thank you. Free drinks and music. So folks, we are done with this presentation. Please make your way out to the other area up there. We have music, cocktails. Bobby is going to be playing along with Ken Kaufman. Bobby, two-time member of the Buffalo, New York Musicians Hall of Fame, along with Ken Kaufman as well. Both played on the road. Enjoy their music, enjoy the food and drink, and come over to the book table. So thank you very much for being here. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Joe. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. See you in a few minutes. Oh, and you can take the ropes with you, but you can leave them too. All right. See you in a few minutes. Yeah.